Recording is on.
Welcome to the Monday, 7th of December, 2020, this dev call. In today's agenda, we have a few things. I think we will start with something that Sky just discussed about, kind of like an incident with BadgerDAO that kind of came on a call with DXDAO, but there isn't enough documentation or I don't know, accountability for that. We can continue with new member introduction, but I don't think there's anyone here that's new. Updates on the Luna IDO, API free collaboration, Gitcoin hackathon, and status partnership. And a topic that I think we should discuss is kind of community documentation, and it's kind of how people learn about DXDAO. Is there clear information, documentation, and explanations for it, and the DXDAO onboarding process? I think these are two critical kind of things we should discuss and start getting the ball rolling on. Sky, do you want to start with the BadgerDAO incident?
Yeah, we can use it as an example. I mean, we've had a few different similar situations, but we can use this one as a real example to discuss because it's easy to see the process, I guess. But historically, we just had like things coming in from all different angles, and like we'd invite people to a call, and we didn't even have a tracking sheet. We didn't have anyone looking over like all of the opportunities. So we've made progress, and we now have that stuff in place. But we had this scenario where someone from BadgerDAO was going around talking to different DAOs in the space, and they, I think via DORG, maybe via Ingemar, got invited to a biz dev call, gave a little bit of a talk, I think, on what they were doing. I don't remember, and I don't know the date, so I was going to look back and see if we could find the video of it, but I don't even know when it was. And BadgerDAO just launched, and they actually gave out Badger token to quite a few DAOs that were that they thought would probably be good, Badger holders that have interest in bringing BTC onto Ethereum, and it's kind of building a DAO focused on the BTC on Ethereum ecosystem. And apparently, someone had mentioned that like DXDAO wasn't that interested in BTC back a few months ago or whenever this happened. And so it's hard. We didn't have a process in place, and one of the key things is the DAO is a decentralized collective of people around the world that maybe people would join or not join a certain call. And so having someone speak for 10 or so minutes on a call is just like a small one way to introduce an idea or a project to something like DXDAO. I think more importantly, it's very important to have either a forum post written by the interested project or the contact at DXDAO community that has brought in or has connected with that project, even if it's a small overview, to have a forum post about it, which then creates a conversation about that. And then people know, I have some background, this person related to this background is about to come on to a call and speak about that opportunity. And so people will be more prepared, and anyone that misses the call will always have some way to learn about that and look into it and hear what comes out of it from the call. That like what comes out of it on the call could also be included on the below that forum post. And so having written records of things in addition to tracking the opportunities, I think is like probably the most important thing, in addition to having someone join and introduce themselves on a call. Just because without it being written, it's I think a lot of these things have gotten and will continue to get lost. And so we can include the requirement of a forum post, even if it's really short and simple. That should be a requirement for any incoming opportunity, at the same time that it goes onto the tracking sheet of all opportunities that DXDAO is encountering. So that we can easily make that fix. It's something that we've now learned, and we'll just these things will become like common practice, and new people will come in, and very quickly they'll know these are the two things that need to happen for any incoming opportunity. So I think DXDAO starts to get better and just becomes normal practice, and then those things won't get lost. So that's the overview. If anyone else has any thoughts about it.
Yeah, so that's like a general issue we have all over the place. Like, I don't remember this project at all. Like, I don't. It's the first time I hear about it, so that's quite interesting. So yeah, but my point is, I think we need to sit down and talk about how we communicate, not through meetings, but rather through written stuff, to make sure that we have like a comprehensive overview of what is going on. So like what I envision is, at least for someone who's focusing on the Omen team, and yeah, there is no source about what's going on inside GitHub besides just going to GitHub. So what we could do in terms of like project communication and like just updating everyone about what's going on, we could do like something like log.omen.eth with a file which will be updated weekly with like clear updates on the whole aspect of Omen. That's like I think that should be like, for each worker group, we need to have one ENS address which points to an IPFS document which has like a clear history of what happened from Genesis till presence. And this is something we could do for like biz dev, governance worker group, and each product group. And with that, we could actually have like a page which summarizes all those logs in like a weekly update from the DXDAO. So we could automate the whole thing, so everyone can go to their website and see what happened past week.
I like the idea of using IPFS and ENS as like an archive of all like important information. So even if something is being published on Twitter or Medium or some kind of centralized thing that's maybe easier for people to consume, even DAO Talk itself, like I think something that would like basically protect us from some of the centralization risks of those platforms is having the information backed up in a decentralized way.
And like another important point we need to add in those logs is like, who is like responsible for those things. Especially we have people who are working full-time and they need to be responsible for those things they actually deliver. So with that, we like anyone in this world can see how they performed actually. So every week we can see who delivered what, who finished what pull requests. I'm not sure if we should go into that in such a detail, but it's important that every week we need to define who is part of the worker group. And that makes it clear that someone is responsible for that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I second the whole like responsibility, accountability. I think that's super important. We need to have someone to champion the onboarding process for new leads. We need someone to own, I don't know, collaborations, integrations, and that type of stuff. But you know, someone needs to be responsible for it. And I think, yeah, one of the people who's working full time, likely.
And the interesting part of this is once we actually establish this logging of worker groups, new worker proposal can just like reference those logs, and people can clearly go through and see how they performed. And that's important because sometimes people just kind of work not 100%, and we like not only the workers inside the worker groups need to tell them that, like, need to ask first what's going on, and second need to tell them, like, give them feedback. I think, yeah, I will shut up.
I think there's some low-hanging apples here. Like if we just talk about the meetings, we shouldn't be superhumans and remember everything. And there's a lot of things going on, and there will be much more stuff going on later, and more meetings. And like we can't attend everything. I would say just we just started using Airtable for real now. I upgraded us to a professional license. I created a template for one thing. I'm gonna create one more template for meetings to give out to the biz dev people to play around with and use. But let's say if we did have Airtable 3 months ago, and someone asks, okay, Badger DAO, and then they could just go to Airtable and just search Badger DAO, and that would they find the exact date, the recording, and notes, and maybe even like names, and if someone said, oh, I'm gonna talk to that person and talk about this partnership, and then you can ask that person like what happened, and that's I think that's a like really low hanging apple. We could have that process done like this week to have notes on Airtable.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know Zet and Sky have both been, I guess, kind of co-leading the Airtable like components, and I think that's kind of shaping up to be a nice source of information from them. And I think just to kind of echo Sky's earlier point, this is about like Badger DAO. I think it was August. Actually, I think I remember where I was when I heard this. So this is kind of a reflection on an opportunity missed because we didn't have the right kind of structures in place. I feel pretty confident that we have put the structures in place in like the last couple of weeks and to catch these opportunities going forward. And I think that's the Airtable. I don't know, Sky, I remember I was looking for the post this morning. I don't know if you posted a DAO talk yet, but the kind of whole partnership and opportunities, Airtable, and then I think the Google Doc you had shared, I think are a really great resource for this. So I think there's some good kind of structure in there. And I was just going to plug this later, but I think it's a good time. I just made a post on DAO Talk about the what I'm right now calling the Resource Coordination Biweekly Huddle, which is going to be this Thursday during the regular weekly call. And so this was what we've discussed about having a larger, more macro, higher level coordination meeting where we talk about some of these processes. Because I think they are a little bit different than what we're dealing with. What we want to be dealing with on this call and other calls is kind of like bringing in opportunities and then coordinating them someplace elsewhere. So let's kind of put our heads together and come up with some additional ideas and things we can discuss on this Thursday call so that we can have some better structure out of this. But I really do like so far what we've been doing with the Airtable, and I think even the Luna situation, as Luna canceled their IDO, but I thought that we were actually dealing with that in a little bit better structure after we've started to learn on this. So hopefully we can continue to build up our capabilities there.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with using Airtable. I think having like someone like presenting how to use Airtable and like for what purpose should we use Airtable and how that interacts with Notion would be helpful. I still believe like Airtable could be this dynamic in the week work which we do to fill up the weekly logs. I still believe it's very important that we have like this this Bible logs going online each week from the worker groups, or like even coordinate to push it on IPFS, just so like literally everyone can access that stuff.
Yeah, and just one other thing I forgot to mention though, I think as Sky said, I think a really important component is the forum, as that kind of being a place where we're documenting that. And I think it's a really great opportunity to kind of coordinate that between anything else we do, and then potentially kind of back that up, because I think that's where that would come. The weekly log or anything would be from those forum posts. And it's also, I think Sky addresses some of the concerns we had about how transparent and open to be, because if there's a forum post for everything in the Airtable, then that's a way that we're kind of communicating that to the community.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding correctly, like what you offered to do in the Thursday call is to basically recap like all the tasks and stuff that we've been doing throughout the week.
So we discussed this last week on the community call on Thursday, to have this Thursday be this resource coordination meeting that we've talked to, Augusto's talked about. So I think I'm just kind of plugging that and thinking we should do that to help discuss some of these broader kind of process operations questions.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, I think this is super important, super important meeting.
The reason the forum at this point is would be still the #1 place is because it's very easy to have like continuing asynchronous conversation and feedback around the topic of that forum post, versus like logs of what people did sitting on IPFS that you can't reply to, you can't create a discussion. That's great for documentation, but that's not good for figuring stuff out and making stuff better and getting answers, right? So that's why the forum is so good, to always have a forum post about every single thing, and then it can create a discussion around that topic. And
yeah, I think
the asynchronous part is important because not everyone is online together.
I think that's in general like a very important thing we need to do. One issue I have is with the current DAO system is that it can go offline right now, and we would lose everything. So one option we could do is have our own forum, which would allow us log in via Web3, and maybe even like continue working on getting like rep added as like a balance, so we actually see who's writing what. That's another interesting aspect, but that's something we can discuss on the next on the planned call.
Yeah, that technology sounds great. It doesn't exist just yet. I know there are people working on that, right? Like Almanita or whatever, but that's not usable at this point.
Wait, you're talking about the blogging system, right? From Almanita?
Well, I was thinking a forum that you log in with your Web3.
No, that's there. Like Gnosis is using it right now. The only thing we need to make sure is that the guy who is running the forum is pushing like a monthly database backup to IPFS, so everyone can like make backups of that very important data. Or we can just ask DAO to do that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. If someone wants to build the integration, or like, I'm assuming it already exists and someone just needs to integrate it, so it's probably not many dev hours, but for sure.
I can also imagine maybe someone just building like an Arweave integration, so that all the posts will be forever permanently archived automatically.
Yeah, that's of course like awesome. Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe Arweave would be willing to help fund something like this. I don't know.
That sounds like a great hackathon project.
Yeah, a good partnership opportunity.
Like someone create a simple system tying two things together that put all of DXDAO's posts in permanent record.
Yeah, happy to make an introduction there, or kind of like, I don't know, you guys just let me know if or how we should proceed there.
Can they join the BizDev call next week?
I can ask one of them. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that could be cool.
I think that's definitely like an important thing to discuss on on our planned organization call. Like, yeah, how, like, should we stay on DAO Talk? If yes, like how much progress we can push forward on the DAO Talk side, or should we just have our own thing with like ratified rules, how to run this? Like the goal is that if those things go offline, someone just takes the database and pushes it back online. So there's no like, we need to be anti-fragile here, right? And right now we're like so attackable with our like important forum database.
I mean, I don't want to say like an easy option, but like a temporary option could be to just, yeah, take all the data that we have right now and then, you know, deploy that to IPFS somewhere. So there's like a historical snapshot. And I guess that can be updated, I don't know, every month or so.
Yeah, Elon, do you know how big the database of DAO Talk is?
Ooh, I can check. It shouldn't be that big, and I can also probably filter it for like the DXDAO. So yeah. And like regarding any development, like my kind of opinion is that 99% of the things that DXDAO will develop will also be developed or are also needed by other DAOs. So like in this context, like anything that you want to develop for DAO Talk, then you know it will be relevant for other DAOs, like login with Ethereum address. So
yeah, I actually think a lot of the problems that we are facing now are actually business opportunities, you know, for the future DAO space and for companies and projects to fill needs there. So I don't know how that changes what we're doing, but I think at some point it would make sense to, I don't know how that could be, you know, used, but maybe we could partner with VCs or you know, entrepreneurs or something who may be looking for things like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, is someone taking notes right now?
I'm taking some, but I'm really bad at it. So
It should like I mean we can talk about it in the soon to be have organization call, but that's another thing, right? This is exactly what Sky was talking about. This like, okay, we are leaving this call, but then there was nothing written about and not like, yeah, notes about who's doing what for what purpose. So we are progressing in specific areas we're not progressing right now.
So you guys have probably seen there's like a Fireflies note taker, which is always shows up on Zoom calls. We can look at that. That works in Jitsi too, which I'm guessing it probably does, but it transcribes the entire call somewhat accurately, and that would at least be some notes, like potentially a transcript of the entire call, which would be probably useful because then you could search it.
oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I've seen it on Zoom. I've never seen it on Jitsi, but I'll find out.
Yeah, I think recording and transcript could be useful for like record keeping, but it would probably still be useful to have a summary, you know, some kind of a note taker or summary for the call. I think Chris Powers probably does the best with this, and everybody's does calls here.
Yeah, was Zoran was doing that for the working group, the Gov working group calls, right?
Yeah, I was kind of working with him a little bit. I don't think he did the last one. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd just say is this is a lot of work and it like takes time. And I think I've kind of settled on something for governance, which I think is the best of both worlds, which is like 2 or 3 for bullet points plus the video as kind of both. But yeah, this just iterating, stuff takes time.
Yeah, like, and the question is who should be in charge of that? If we're going that route with like weekly ratified IPFS data logs, we could make sure that the working group itself will push not only dev updates, but like a complete log about what happened on Omen, for example. Right?
I just think with these things, we can't get our get ahead of our skis, and it's just like you start documenting, and like that's what you do. Like that's always the answer. It's like whatever you want to like document. Don't make like a grand plan. We're gonna like document everything. It's just like start doing it now.
Yeah, I agree.
I wanted to make one note about the Badger call, because they actually had pivoted from what they initially described to DXDAO on their original call. So when they were presenting on the Biz Dev call, what they were talking about doing was like an ample forth like token, but instead of rebasing to USD, it was going to like rebase to the price of BTC instead. And then they pivoted to what they just launched last week, which is sort of like a BTC focused Y-earn. So I don't know. I mean, like whether it's a missed opportunity, I guess the depends on what you think about the different things. But just, I think that's just like something to note.
That's a huge pivot.
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, for me speaking, like the reason I was not that excited about what they were doing is I didn't think that the ample forth BTC idea was compelling. But I mean, that's just my personal take on it.
Yeah, I don't know what the word is, but I don't know, maybe disappointed, because Ingemar I think he's very involved in there, and then seeing like all these communities, you know, getting airdropped and not DXDAO was kind of like I don't know, raise an eyebrow for me personally. But I don't know what happened with the previous when they came on.
Yeah, I mean,
if we're only considering it a missed opportunity because we didn't get like a stimulus check, then that's not actually a missed opportunity. Like that's a gimmick, right? Like
free money.
The question is, what are they really doing? And if you try to look into what they're actually doing, like they gave their founders in a fair distribution a bunch of tokens. So I don't know if it's a fair distribution, but like what are they actually doing? And do we want to help them do that is the question. Like ignoring the airdrop, right? And it's, if you look, I still can't figure out exactly if it's what they're doing is like to make money, or if it's like actually to actually bring BTC to the Ethereum in a better decentralized way.
Yeah, so I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this, you know, realistically, the first intention is for people to make money if they're working for something. Yes, you know, there might be other things involved, like bringing BTC to Ethereum and, you know, championing decentralized stuff. But that's really the first incentive.
Yeah, I think their conceit is to be a DAO focused on bringing BTC to Ethereum. And I would describe what they're doing currently as basically Y-earn, but with a BTC focused. Yeah. Anyways, anybody who gave the Gitcoin and any can get a Badger airdrop. Just
but John, to be fair, Y-earn's like stated goal is to seek the highest yield in the safest way for people to access on Ethereum, and like everything they do is to seek yield, right, for people. That if Badger DAO's goal says we want to like bring BTC to Ethereum, that's very different than like we want to make money leveraging BTC pools on Ethereum. That's
right. So I think that's like their higher level goal, and this Y-earn focus like with the BTC spin is like one product in that effort, and they're probably going to try to do other things.
Yeah, like to Elon's point, to not point fingers or something like that. I don't think. Ingemar was in charge of that. But he made sure that Diog is getting an airdrop. So yeah, whatever.
Yeah, a simple forum post about it at the time of it happening, which then leads to a discussion about it, and it's like, well, we don't like that because it's Ampleforth idea, and then they come back later because they're pivoting, and then there's another post on that to reply to that forum. Then it starts a discussion. Like, so if we use the forum for that topic, it probably would have been a better outcome, like versus a random 10-minute call that no one understood on just the call, right?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think we kind of like, yeah. I mean, we can move on maybe to the next topic because I think we kind of have a clear idea of like what we want to do, and we'll discuss this on the Thursday call. And additionally, let's make sure that we log stuff, forum posts, Airtables, and Notions. And anyone want to say anything else about this, or can we move on to, I guess, the other updates that we have?
I would maybe add a suggestion for the discussion about note taking. Like maybe for start, it would be more useful to have like note of actions that we're going to take regarding the issue that we discussed, instead of just having paragraph of something that was discussed. Like we can say by the next week we'll make that document, maybe who will be responsible for it, and that could be maybe the start, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's good. Basically, action items from each call.
Yeah, that would be easier to implement then.
Yeah. So, Sky, do you want to maybe? I don't know how to take ownership of something like this. Yeah, but someone basically what needs to remind people to create a forum post is. I'm not sure how this can be an action item.
So for opportunities, we're going to make that the process. Okay, this is different than like notes on all these calls and action items around these calls. But every time we invite someone like Arweave's going to come hopefully next week to this call. Someone should post the idea of why Arweave is coming to talk to DXDAO in the forum this week, and like why we think it might be an idea. And then send that to Arweave too. Then maybe they can write some stuff. And then so when they come here next week, everyone here already knows why Arweave is coming to talk to DXDAO, why we asked them to come, because we have a problem, and they're going to help us solve it. If that's in the forum, everyone's already prepared, right? So those opportunities, we're going to say, someone do a forum post, start the discussion, and then that will make things much better. Those are for opportunities. And it will also go on the opportunity tracking sheet. That will be that process now. And anyone asked, tell them to do a forum post.
All right. So who wants to take over Arweave? Chris, could you do that? Like not Powers, Christopher.
Yeah, happy to do that. So you basically just want me to write like a little forum post, just explaining.
Yeah.
That.
Explain, I guess, potential collaborations that we can do with Arweave, and if they want to bring anything up.
Yeah, I mean, we could even go more specific about like having a shared bounty about.
Yeah, we want to make things. We need to make things simple, right? So it's like it's not about like we don't need to live perfect be the enemy of good. So I think in these cases, it's just like make a forum post, and that's kind of like the minimum, and to get the thing started. And I think just it's either before or after the call. It's just the only way that things are going to get moving is if you make a forum post. So we can't really complain. That's kind of a good. Also, it's a good anti-Sybil thing because you just tell people that make a forum post, and then we can take any discussion on anything else and just reply to the forum post.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Should we move to the next topic? Do we want to? I think maybe we'll rush through this, but so Luna has postponed their IDO not because of the Mesa issues. They just decided to postpone their ICO. I don't know if anyone wants to shed more light on this.
I had some contacts, ask them for the private round actually, and it seems like they want better, like they want contacts and like people that can help them grow rather than just money. Like it's not hard getting money today, and I think like from that perspective it makes sense for them, if they could get the money plus get the people to have stuff moving, that's not a bad choice they did.
So basically, if we had someone who would have supported them more like more hand-holding wise, that would have made a difference for them.
I mean, I asked like why. I asked why API 3 gave 2% of their tokens to PrimeDAO, and their answer was because of their contacts. So
yeah,
we could be that part, like we could get them the money and be that network of contacts if we want that. Like if so, there's two things people want: it's the money and get stuff moving by having that network.
But to answer your last question, Christopher, I don't think it was a matter of the support from the DXDAO side. There's a Telegram group with them that they've gotten a fair amount of support from, both Hen helping out on like designing the the bonding curve sale on Mesa, as well as a couple of partnership calls and stuff. So I think we've actually been pretty good on supporting them, and this was not about like the level of support or like information they were getting from DXDAO.
So why did PrimeDAO then get the 2% of the token supply?
So we're mixing up two different things. So we're talking about Aluna Social, who canceled their IDO, who are doing a private round now. And I think I just echo John. I think we actually did a pretty good job of coordinating with them. We've had a longer term relationship. The second discussion is on API 3 and PrimeDAO's cooperation, and that there was like some token swap between PrimeDAO and API 3. And I think the question is, why didn't DXDAO participate in some type of token swap with API 3, considering we have relatively close relations with them and they use Mesa on that? And I think that the second question is one where it's probably similar to the BadgerDAO thing, is that we just need to have more engagement from the beginning and not let those things fall through the cracks.
I think like practically the answer to this is very simple. Pat for PrimeDAO came up with the idea to do a token swap. He reached out to them, he designed the partnership, and that's why it happened.
Yeah, to be honest, a 2% token swap for DXD to API 3 would be voted on by DXDAO, and that something like that might not. It's much easier for PrimeDAO to do a token swap like that than which is like this brand new token. Then DXDAO might not even want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, why I raised this is not sorry to like mix up these two things, but I think just from the perspective of being useful more than just fundraising. Like if we just ignore Mesa for a second, like us DXDAO as people, as a network, like can we have a partnership without just fundraising? That's more the question. Like PrimeDAO got a partnership just by having contacts, basically, and pushing onto that without having Mesa, whatever. And I think it's the same thing with Aluna. Is like, can we do this partnership without fundraising? I think yes. I mean, we could still do these farming programs and whatever we could do with them with Swapper. So yeah. As I read, at least he said the farming program is just postponed. It's not canceled, or did I read it wrong?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I assume that has to do with when they're actually going to be distributing the token. If they're going to do like a private round, they're not going to probably like start farming until that. But in just to support this point, like in their plan, they had a pretty attractive farming scenario for DXD holders, even getting just some DXD staking for that. So I think that, and we hadn't promised any fundraising or financial capability there. So that may have been a place where we could have done that. And I think we should definitely kind of keep exploring those. And I do think it's just maintaining relationships and staying relevant. And as I said in the chat, just asking and kind of being involved. But that takes time and effort to kind of go along and keep updated with people.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was missing here is the proactivity from our side into this thing. You know, if someone from their side would have been proactive, that could also work. But yeah, I think being proactive towards the DXDAO is a bit difficult because it's a decentralized organization. So it's not very clear like who makes decisions, obviously, because it's, you know, decentralized. But if the DXDAO will come up with initiatives from someone from the DXDAO, then I think it will work better.
Yeah, it looks like Martin kind of like wants to take a bit more operational ownership of Mesa. Maybe he would be like a good person to do this.
Yeah.
I don't.
I guess I think we've like discussed this kind of partnership
You
structure.
know.
I think it was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and thought we've put a pretty good structure in place. And I think we should be working through that. Sky, I guess we probably need to make that. I think there's a post maybe in the forum for that to lay out the Airtable part. Because I think the problem with making it just Mesa, it is kind of like a catch-all for a whole bunch of things. And I think we just need some structure on that.
That's why we talk tomorrow to Gnosis, and then I think we have more clarity on the strategy. And we will see.
Like Mesa is an important funnel here for partnerships.
Yes.
But if you take like API 3, for example, I actually think the touch point there would have been the Oracle integrations with Omen. That's kind of more of the like synergy than just the Mesa sale. But yeah, I think the key thing is if there's a partnership exploration happening, there needs to be somebody who owns that exploration and follows through. I think we've been missing that accountability in the past.
Yes, 100%.
But sometimes just nobody is really interested into. It's a good example, the Badger, because at this point we thought that there were many people, or most of you thought that there were going to be some supply elastic money, and nobody was interested into this. And maybe we should just also assign people if nobody is willing to act. I don't know.
Yeah, I think to Violet's point about action items, right? It's like if we have a call, I think like maybe there should be some kind of a conclusion, like yay or nay, like do we follow through on this, right? And like, maybe there needs to be votes or something, either on Alchemy or DXD Guild or something as to whether like it moves forward or not. But,
yes, or we make like a signal vote on the forum post.
And there are token offerings going on every week in the space, right? On Bounce and all these other platforms and things, and Uniswap, whatever. But does DXDAO want to go out and recruit those, or do we want to have eventually like these packages as Martin's putting together, where people kind of have to take the projects kind of have to come to DXDAO also. Like we're not going out and we've never really gone out and like recruited projects to do IDOs with DXDAO on Mesa, right? So if that's a strategy we want to do, that's a whole new strategy that needs to be implemented.
Yeah, I think we need to first concentrating on catching and organizing the existing flow we get. And I think we actually get pretty good flow. It's just kind of tracking and keeping up with that. But I think long term, we definitely need to have a more proactive, outgoing biz dev.
I think I've said this like before. I think right now we're still lucky. People come to us. I think in the future we want a person that takes ownership, not only for incoming, also for actually like going out, trying to get partnerships, also like following leads or following like potential good partnerships for us. Just like a full-time thing. I think it's like the other DAOs and other companies will probably do that, and us having these partners coming to us will maybe end one day, and we need to do that another way.
I do, just to echo that. I actually think I wrote this in the the work opportunities. I think we should be looking for a full-time partnership person, but I don't think we're kind of ready for that yet, just because we got to do some internal workings to be able to handle that type of scale.
I mean, I could see us, like the stuff we're creating for us right now. We don't know, but we are kind of creating products, even though we are solving our own problems. I see like partnerships in with, like, if we start building partnerships now when we are not dangerous, it's better to do it now than later, especially with other DAOs. But yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about the thing Augusto is building. I would see this as a product and something that we could work on in the future, and want to have other DAOs be using. Yeah.
I can say that I can. There's an avenue here where this becomes also like a DAO stack priority, right? If we work with DXDAO to bring on partners that will also build on DAO stack, then this is like there's a realm of like overlap here in the biz dev efforts. So yeah, like I tried to discuss this with Ingemar back in the day, but yeah, it didn't really bear fruit. Yeah.
I have a plan to do a Discord that will be a Discord for all the UI and UX people in the Web3 world, and just gather everyone there, where people can share ideas and problems and files and whatever it could be. And like that kind of thing is like an unofficial partnership, but I think, like, in my head, I know how to talk with designers, and I think we could do that. Like, we don't need official partnerships always, but we could just be like really close to potential partners just by having personal contacts with the people. I feel really close with 8x3 people now because I know someone there, and like it's good for us to have this contact network, and we should keep growing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I actually wanted to talk about, I guess this is a bit related, but the community itself, and I guess, I mean, we could postpone this to next week, but I think there is a strain, or there is a difficulty in onboarding to the DXDAO. There isn't clear information, there isn't clear documentation, and like, if someone wants to join the DXDAO, they would probably need, and this is not necessarily a bad thing, but they would probably need like a one-on-one conversation with a DXDAO member for them to explain, and this is not scalable. So yeah, I think like another kind of project that needs to be done is this kind of aspect of onboarding documentation. What is the DXDAO? How do you join? What do you need to do, etc.
I am actually at the tail end of the planning phase for an onboarding strategy. I don't think I'm quite ready to professionally share, but I could touch on some notes about it if you'd like.
That could be awesome. Like, I was actually I was imagining that this would kind of be in your realm because you're the latest who joined, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I felt it was the best thing for me to start off with, since it's so fresh in my memory. I can share some notes here if you'd like. Not quite ready for a formal presentation, but that might not even be necessary. Just moving it ahead would probably be better.
Yeah. So feel free to share.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just bringing it up here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess Martin can also be a part of this, helping. He's also new.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. Yes, happy to give feedback.
Okay, so I started off with identifying what the main issues were. And just to jump ahead quick, I did speak, I think, with Sky and Chris a little bit about it already. But I noticed that a lot of the problems that the current onboarding system has aren't a result of the process. It's just the information drought that it's between each step, really. The process I actually do really like. It allows the whole community to become acquainted with new potential workers, and you know, the introduction channel and getting started channel, and people get directed to, you know, their niche quite well. Obviously, I wasn't personally a part of that, so it's possible that other people would have a different opinion on that. But from what I could tell just from reading through the chats, the process actually isn't bad. It's just the information gap. So some of the problems I outlined is, unless communicated by a community member, like you mentioned, figuring out the steps of the process are difficult. Workers don't have means to identify positions that are in need. And as a quick aside to that, we do have a document that I'll quickly link in the chat here. And I really, really love this document. And the main issue with it is that the only place I could find it is on Twitter, and it's like down a bit. Like we don't have any like just place for this information. So I also have, you know, new members don't have vital information for internal communication, understanding, you know, who is in charge of what, who is dealing with what. Trial period workers don't have sufficient information of what is exactly expected of the trial period. Potential workers don't have guidelines regarding proposals. And this obviously isn't just the onboarding process. This, as far as I can tell, extends to current workers as well. And then just as additional, trial workers may have difficulty setting up DXD compensation contracts, especially non-technical members. So those are the main issues that I noticed when I was doing some searching around. And I had initially tinkered around with, you know, rewriting the whole process and you know, making it more concise before I realized that there's nothing wrong with the process. And my solution is actually really simple. And it goes hand in hand with what I plan on working with Violet. We've spoken briefly. Is just a clarity pass on the front page of our website, figuring out what, you know, who is going to use DXDAO's website and how are we going to get that information to them. So I'm proposing you know, like an information dashboard, or it could be for prospective workers or just for workers in general. And, you know, we can collect information there, you know, links, videos, as we mentioned. So just like a singular source of truth for information for people that want to get involved. And this would have, you know, like socials. This would have, you know, hey, Keybase is for X purpose and Telegram is for X purpose. So there's no confusion in that regard. We'd also hold documents there, like compensation, work proposal guidelines, which I would like to help make. Obviously, the document that I have outlined here is actually solves a lot of these issues. And a lot of what I wrote up was before I even knew this existed, which was my main issue. So a lot of this is actually solved. It's half of what this process will be is translating this document that is written out onto dxdao.eth. And yeah.
Maybe one point to add. I mean, this sounds like really worker related, but I guess like the majority of like people, you know, who are like interested in DXDAO, maybe not interested to work for DXDAO, or maybe they're kind of like interested either like from speculative perspective or just to like participate in the governance. And yeah, for these people, it's also very difficult right now to figure out information, etc.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, I'm just spitballing ideas at this stage. I think perhaps it could, instead of worker dashboard, be, I don't know, even just like an information dashboard. We'd have to find a way to make it be concise and look nice, but just a central information hub for people that want to get involved is the main issue. And laying out what the steps are and what is needed is really, I think, all that we need, and that will help with scalability immensely.
Yeah, so I think I agree. Like we can start with like the worker, or you know, the stuff that you just outlined, which I think are great. And yeah, I guess once you publish a document, you'll get some feedback, you'll get some comments. So yeah, like I think this is a great place to start, and then we should expand to other things, to like I guess more marketing type explanation of what DXDAO is and how to join, whether it's just join some calls and be a part of the organization, or be an actual worker. So yeah.
Yeah, I think from here I'm going to do a bit more work, and I'll be in touch with you, Violet, regarding steps moving forward when it's a little bit more of a solidified plan. And I'll probably get a forum post going shortly as well, sometime within the next day or two.
Awesome.
Can I give my vision of the information flow here? So I've because I'm involved a little bit with the Airtable things, and I've talked with Keenan a little bit. I think it's good for us to have, like, we need Airtable, and we need Notion, and we maybe need somewhere else. Like, there will be different places with different sources of truth, and we don't want that. We want one source of truth, and I think, in my opinion, we could still have that by using, let's say, Gitbook, or using Notion, and then embed, let's say, Airtable. Airtable is made for that, and that way we always, like, we have that one place you go to. You don't need to go to Airtable. You don't need to go to, let's say, the website or whatever. Like, you can go to, let's say, website, click on like documentation or whatever it is, and then you'll be sure that the latest compensation guideline is there, the latest meeting notes is there, because they're embedded. You don't need to change Gitbook to get that. We have the processes with Airtable or with Notion or whatever else we have. So I think that is the solution. It's centralized, but I think that's the solution short term. And I'll be happy to help you, Keenan, if you want to set this up. I've set this up before for other companies, but not exactly how we are built. But yeah.
You mentioned singular source of truth. Did you want to have a quick discussion about what me, you, and Sky talked about, just a little bit more publicly, regarding single source of truth, perhaps having too much information, such as for the Airtable, like you mentioned, sharing too much worker-related information that would be valuable internally, but maybe not externally?
Yeah, I mean, we could give that example. So I made an Airtable that tracks. It doesn't track people, but it basically, you fill in your worker details, which is like your name. You don't need to put in your name, but your name or nickname, your Keybase handle, your time, UTC, and city, and which products you are working on, and if you are like a product lead on any of these products. And in Airtable, like, we can build organization charts from that information, and also we could use that table to see, like, where all developers are working and stuff like that. So I made that table, and you don't need any account to see that table. You don't need any account to fill in your worker data. But then, like, do we want that information to be publicly? Like, if you have a link, you can see this. Do we want that? And if we don't want that, how do we how do we go with that? Because you either have an account, or there's features like password protecting this. It can be done. So what do you guys think?
I don't think there should be a difference between internal and external.
I have no problem with this information to be out from my point of view, but I can respect if people. I mean, we are a DAO. I don't know how transparent it should be, and if someone doesn't feel comfortable with that information to be out, Oh, sorry, I shared the wrong link. I'm gonna share the latest link in the chat. It's just two people now. The pickle is not a real person. But
say perhaps Sky could weigh in on some contrarian points. He had some good ones when we chatted.
Yeah.
Like, you mean risks, kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So there's, there's, as we know, there's lots of risks with DXDAO. Like having a single document that has like a recorded list of everyone, exactly what they're doing, what time zone they're in, where they live, potentially the hours they're working. Like that's not the type of document that a 500-person decentralized collective of people all around the world should have for anyone in the government /